Sometimes you can see autism from across the room. I feel this is true about my own art. I once had a mother email me about my website. Her autistic son was fascinated with my painting Exit Wounds and Strategies. In other cases, autism is harder to detect. Sometimes you have to be with the actual painting up close, and for me that is like being a forensic scientist poring over a crime scene. The autism is in the process, in very fussy details, at very small scales. The entire painting may be thought out as if lying in a petri dish. I have a talent for reverse engineering works of art. This is my copy of a Wilhelm de Kooning painting. My version is 9 by 14 inches, while the original is significantly larger. De Kooning's style is so different from my own that I regarded it as a challenge to reproduce it, and particularly in his use of translucent whites as a way of creating spatial depth. While I was still a graduate student at Indiana University, they brought in several William Turner paintings from the Tate Gallery in a special exhibition, which I attended at the IU Art Museum. This was really the first time I ever got to see real oil paintings up close by someone who is regarded as a great painter. And for me, it was like stumbling over the Rosetta Stone. I was suddenly able to see of what oil painting was capable. A fellow graduate student in the painting program thought the paintings were rather fussy, which is something you would never get from looking at his paintings in a book. I would say that he was correct. For all the slapdash that one perceives in a William Turner painting, he is still a methodical, fussy engineer. I could look through his translucent layers and see how the painting was built from back to front. Paul Klee, for example, strove to reproduce drawings similar to those made by children. He also strove to create a facsimile of primitive art. But even for all that, when you look at his paintings up close, you realize that here, just like William Turner, is a methodical engineer. The same can be said of Kandinsky. Sometimes you cannot escape who you are. I feel there are many more people on the autistic spectrum than we realize. But since a spectrum is, by definition, broad, people on the mild end tend to fall off the radar screen. If you ask, why should so many people be on the autistic spectrum? That's a little bit like asking, why should natural selection select for so many engineers? Another way of looking at it is to say, God must have liked engineers because he made so many of them. It is tempting to say that engineers, in being valuable to the species, need to be less inclined to familial feelings, since these responsibilities might get in the way of building defense ditches, forts, and weaponry. And because men are less valuable than women to the species, you might even say that men are more expendable and so are better suited to the life of bachelorhood. I once heard an engineer say, there is only one rule in engineering, and that is that the bridge does not fall down. Researcher Simon Baron-Cohen once said that high-functioning autism is a form of extreme maleness. And since most people with autism are males, that only makes sense. Now, there are women with autism, but we will talk about Jane Austen in another video. Obviously, this is not to say that those on the spectrum do not fall in love and start families, and all families have their difficulties. To assess the success of these unions, you must ask the member of the relationship who is not on the spectrum as to whether the other partner is all they desire in a nurturing partner. Now, I'm not talking about arguments and domestic squabbles. These are natural features of normal human relationships. In fact, these types of overt expressions of feelings might be strangely missing where one partner or both are on the spectrum. There is always something missing, and sometimes it's impossible to describe what this something is because it is nonverbal in nature. You could argue that the Middle Ages, where bachelor men lived together in dormitories, wore the same clothes every day, ate the same meal every day, and socially interacted but rarely, was an autistic's dream come true. It did not hurt when it came to building this and illuminating that.